Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Parashat Pointers for Parashat Emor. This week's message is dedicated to Leilu Nishmat Yaakov ben Leah. This week's Parashat talks about the Korban Todah, Thanksgiving offering that was brought in the Beit HaMikdash. One of four people that were saved or went through dangerous situations bring a Thanksgiving offering to thank Hashem in the Beit HaMikdash. Who are these people? Either someone that was freed from prison, one who went over a midbar, a desert, one who went over the yam, the sea, or someone who recovered from an illness. So they come and they bring a korban todah. What's in this korban todah? You have an animal that they shecht, of course, and also there is loaves of bread, 40 loaves of bread. So you have one person that has to eat 40 loaves of bread, has to be eaten in that day. It cannot even be left over to the next day. How in the world could a person eat 40 loaves of bread? Actually, a pretty crazy question. I could imagine it if it's nice and fresh. But anyway, really, you can't. 40 loaves of bread is a tremendous amount of food. So the rabbis teach us that obviously it's not going to just be him eating it alone. He's going to have other people join him in this meal. What's the purpose of that? Why are we having other people join in the meal? Looks like there's a design for that purpose. And the answer I saw is that it's not enough to just thank Hashem yourself. You have to share it with others. Others should be there with you. And you should share with them the feeling of thanks you have for Hashem. And that creates other people feeling that feeling of gratitude towards Hashem. When we talk about other people, we have to first think about our own children, our own families. Of course, our own families, we have to, every table, every time we sit with them, every time we're with our children, it should be as if we're having a meal and we're with the loaves of the Korban Todah, that we're talking about these beautiful things that Hashem does for us. So let's talk a little bit about what we could thank Hashem for. We live in a world that just keeps on spewing out negativity, what's going wrong, what's not happening economically, physically, and we hear a lot of bad news all the time. But there's so much good happening all the time as well. And there's just so much that Hashem does for us. We can look at it, our bodies, our senses, our families, our homes, our community, the comforts we live with. It's unbelievable. I have eyes, and not only have eyes, I have glasses that I put on with my eyes so I could see beautiful. It's not normal. It's unbelievable. Teeth to eat. I mean, you could literally go on and on and on, but we have to vocalize these things to our children. You think they know it, they don't. They need to hear it. And when they hear it, they start to feel it. And they start to feel that gratitude. And that's what we have to do. I recently read an article of a 36-year-old man who passed away. And the doctors couldn't get over his feelings of happiness as he was going through such difficulties and sicknesses. You know what he told them? I'm going to quote you. He said, "What is owed to me? My expectations are zero, therefore everything I have is a gift." His parents imbued that in him. Everything's a gift. I enjoy so much. I won't even be able to enjoy anything. If one listens to the news, by the way, like I mentioned before, the negativity is terrible. It's dangerous. The onslaught. It sullies a person's ability to just see good. Always seeing bad. Every tree, flower, cloud, it's all a testament of all the beautiful things that we should thank Hashem for. If we don't inculcate our children these feelings, who's going to do it? They're going to get programmed by the world. And the greatest way to do this, by the way, is to talk, like I mentioned, about different things. Let's just talk about the color of flowers. I did some research, so listen up. I'm going to read you these things. Listen to this definition of how flowers have color. I was actually laughing when I read this. Flowers inherit their appearance from their genes. Pigments are, quote unquote, and it actually has the quote unquote in the definition, born into these plants, producing a range of colors across the spectrum. The same chemical, carotenoid, which produces a pigment in tomatoes and carrots, also produces yellow, red, and orange color in certain flowers. Now imagine if you tell your child, it was born into. What does that mean, born into? Who made it born? It's called Hashem. And they don't even have an answer for that. Obviously, we know that the scientists don't have an answer for what makes something born into something else. It's called, there's a creator. Anyway, when you speak about that, and they say, wow, the colors are created from a chemical that comes in it. Wow, unbelievable. In fact, Rabbi Avigdor Miller has an amazing piece talking about coffee. I love this one. He talks about how coffee is something that so many people are involved in bringing to the world just for you. And I'll just read to you what I saw written. And it goes like this. They pick the coffee bean individually, right? Someone in Central America planted a coffee seed and nurtured the tree for years until it bore fruit. They picked the coffee beans individually by hand and spread them to dry. The beans were then transported to a processing plant to be sorted, graded, roasted, ground, taste tested, and packed. An entire shipping industry requiring hundreds of people bring the coffee to the warehouse in the United States, where it is trucked to regional distribution centers before finally arriving in the grocery store. At that point, dozens of people ensure the coffee is unpacked, stocked, and sold. Then there is an entire infrastructure to provide water for the coffee and an entire dairy industry to provide milk for the coffee. Plus the cup, the soup, the table, the chair, the kitchen appliances. We can go on and on. That's all happening so you could have a cup of coffee. That's called gratitude. There was a child prodigy in Lithuania, in Vilna. He was actually the Rosh Yeshiva of Netzach Yisrael. Yeshiva name was Rabbi Yisrael Gutzman. And there's a beautiful story about how they said he used to go and put water in the plants around his front door. They asked him, why are you doing this? And he said an amazing story that when he was in Nazi Germany and they were coming after him, he hid behind some of these bushes. And he felt that he wanted to show Hakarat Tov to the bushes. Imagine, we don't even show Hakarat Tov to people, let alone bushes. And he wanted to show us Hakarat Tov, so he makes sure to water them every day. These are just different ideas of how we could put this in our children. Imagine having happy children and just say, oh wow, that's great, I'm so happy. It's up to us to do that. Shabbat Shalom.